Today's episode feels like a love letter to the handwritten note, to the art of the invitation, and to the kind of thoughtful correspondence that turns everyday moments into keepsakes. I'm joined by Jennifer Hunt, the founder of Dogwood Hill, a brand known for its artful designs, rich storytelling, and timeless paper goods that have become treasured parts of celebrations and everyday life alike. Jennifer started Dogwood Hill the way many great ideas begin, with a need, a little ingenuity, and a lot of heart. In our conversation, we discussed Jennifer's journey, the charm of paper in a digital world, the nostalgia and importance of maintaining traditions, and how Dogwood Hill's art is now transforming interiors too. So settle in and let's step into the beautiful world of Dogwood Hill. Welcome to Grandma's Silver, where tradition meets today. I'm Allie, your host of the Grandma Silver podcast and founder of the Grand Millennial Lifestyle. Here, we blend aesthetics with nostalgia, engaging in conversations with lifestyle brands, designers, and more to rediscover the timeless charm of the past. Join me as we journey from home to heart, illuminating the past and polishing the present with the gleam of Grandma Silver. Jennifer, thanks for joining me today. I'm really excited to chat. We're chatting a little bit before I hit record, and I know we're about to have a fun conversation, and I can't wait to learn about you and your brand. So before I continue on, did you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and tell people who you are and what your brand is?
Sure. I'm Jennifer Hunt. I live in Birmingham, Alabama, and my brand is Dogwood Hill. We are actually turning 10 this October, so that's pretty exciting. I started the company as a paper-focused company, but we just launched our home collection, which right now is wallpaper and fabric by the yard. That launched in May.
Dogwood Hill, the name.
Yeah.
Where does that stem from?
So I grew up in a small town in Northwest Alabama. It is called Russellville. It's where my dad is from. My ancestor was one of the founding members of the town, so we've been there for a very long time. When I was considering what would be a unique name for the company, my neighborhood was called Woodland Hills, and my street was Dogwood Lane. And so it's sort of a combination of those two things. So Dogwood Hill, of course, is the two of those put together. But I think having a paper focused company where we're specifically doing items like invitations for weddings or, stationery, etiquette plays a role in that. And etiquette was a big thing in my house. My mom taught my brother and me all of those important things that, of course, we did not love having to learn as we were growing up and fought it a lot. But now I'm thankful for how she handled all of that with us. But she also hosted parties at her house, and our Christmas decorations were always so beautiful. And she was on the tour of homes, our house was. So there were just a lot of things that I felt like I learned growing up from living in that house on Dogwood Lane in Woodland Hills that translated into potentially a portion of why I started this company. Or not necessarily how I started it, but sort of how it developed and grew and some of the things that were important to it. If you look at our brand, we have sort of a story with our brand on our website where you can see a map of sort of the fictional town of Dogwood Hill. And there is, a church there that Holly Holland, who did our branding, drew in. And that is, of course, to represent where you would have your wedding. And we have a little garden where you would have a tea party. And then you have a little downtown where you would shop for beautiful pieces. And we knew eventually we wanted to do wallpaper and fabric. So that was where that would be housed. There are just little pieces of the community that are drawn into that map.
I love that so much. One of the things we were talking about pre-recording was sort of our unique skill sets that have led us to where we are today, right?
Right.
So I know that you have a background in accounting.
Yes.
But then you also were a gallery owner, and this intrigues me because these are very different sides of the brain.
I ended up in accounting in college, just sort of, I don't know. It wasn't planned in any way. I went to college thinking I wanted to be a doctor. I had co-op to the hospital in high school at the end of each day, and then ended up getting a job with a doctor. And that was sort of my high school job. And I loved it. I thought it was great. And so I naturally thought, well, maybe I want to do this for a living. So I went to college and did pre-med and learned that first year I did not want to do that. It was a pretty quick realization. And so I did not know what I wanted to do. My dad suggested that I just take a couple of business classes, and I did and loved them. And so I changed focus to business, thought, well, what would I do? I went into healthcare administration just because I didn't know what else to do. And then I had to take a core accounting class and ended up, strangely enough, loving it, which is so weird because I never really loved math. I ended up loving statistics. I mean, I definitely have that whole like analytical, logical side of my brain that this just hit that. And I didn't even realize it until I got to that class. Ended up taking accounting, got a master's in accounting, went to work for a big public accounting firm right out of college. Last job in accounting was working for Zoe's Kitchen. I think that the most recent company bought it out and changed it into what their fast casual company was, but they had hundreds of stores when that happened.
Okay.
At the time, they did not have a corporate office. And so a guy I went to college with, and I started their corporate office for them, helped sort of hire out. I think there were five, maybe seven stores at the time.
Wow.
And that was like an MBA for me. It's all hands on deck when you're opening a store or whatever. I kind of learned how to run a small business.
I was just about to ask. I'm sure that contributed
Yes,
later.
it was huge. And it gave me the confidence because after I got married, just soon after I had that job, we were in Dallas for a short time. We came back to Birmingham, and I realized that there was a particular art gallery that I really loved. And there was a heavy focus in photography, which was sort of a side interest of mine, fine art photography, not portrait photography or anything. So I decided I wanted to open an art gallery here that sort of focused on that, maybe had some other things too, because that didn't exist here. And I had the confidence to do that because I'd had that training with the most recent small business job I had. I loved the art side of that. I loved curating shows. We traded out our shows every 6 weeks, and we would have an opening, a little party every time. That was really fun. I got to know so many interesting people, artists, collectors. It opened up a whole different world for me. The art gallery itself, I had for 3 years. My lease was running out. I was having a baby. The one thing I did learn that's an interesting thing, I think, for me, people ask me all the time, will Dogwood Hill ever have a brick and mortar store? And my immediate answer is no. Because I had the art gallery, while I loved it so much and there were so many things that I enjoyed, it was really hard to have a brick and mortar. You had to be there all the time. Nobody wanted to buy expensive art from the gallery sitter. They wanted to buy it from me because I knew everything about it. I felt like I had to be there all the time. And that's hard when you have small children and if you can't be there, trying to find someone who can and those kind of things. The logistics of all of that were not exactly fun for me. When the idea of that popped into my head, I always knew that the brick and mortar was not going to be a component of that. I wanted to
Hmm.
be online. I wanted to start a company that as it grew, we could work from home. Everybody could work from home. We do, in fact, have an office now, and there are a number of people who have to go into the office every day. Generally speaking, the majority of our team can work from home, and that was always an important part of it for me.
What appealed to you about segueing into this specific? I mean, your first start, right, was paper goods. What was the impetus for this shift?
Yeah, so what gave me the idea for
Yeah.
so early, my very first holiday card after we got married, I wanted it to be different. I didn't want to go order it. I mean, this was at the time, I do think maybe Tiny Prince was around, but for whatever reason, I wanted my own sort of look and feel with my cards. So my mother-in-law, actually, strangely enough, she is a fine art photographer, but she's a really incredible artist. And so she made our holiday cards for us that year. So from that point forward, I just started figuring out how to do a unique holiday card. I mean, they weren't like handmade crafty or anything. I would just go, for me, once we got to Birmingham, there is a local stationery shop, and I would go sit in the back with the owner and we would create my own card. It was different from everyone else's. Well, this particular year, it was 2014. I had waited too late. I usually went in the summers to start that process because it was a pretty lengthy process and it was also expensive. And I had waited until October, and I had to settle for just like a card out of an album. You know how you used to go and still can into a lot of stationery shops, and they have card options for you in these big albums. So I had to settle for that. I didn't get to create my own thing. And It was a pretty card. It was certainly not my favorite card. And I thought, okay, it'll probably be a better price because I didn't do anything, made from scratch. And it was not. It was as expensive, maybe more. And I just got really frustrated. And so I thought, well, surely I can find something online that will give me that look and feel I'm trying to go for. I wanted it to have original looking art on it. I wanted it to feel like it was custom made, even though I didn't want to pay that kind of price. And I couldn't find anything online. It didn't exist.
Filling your own gap in the market.
That's what I saw. I saw that it was a gap, that it
Yeah.
didn't exist. And so I mulled over that idea all through the holiday season, through that next spring, and then approached my first creative director that spring with the idea. She loved it. She signed on with me. And then by that October, we had the first collection on the website. I'm astonished still that we did that so quickly, especially now that we just did the wallpaper and fabric launch that took years to get there. I really can't believe that we did what we did in such a short amount of time. There were times along the way that I thought I was going to have to just hang it up. One of the things was we had to find that customization tool for the website so that the people could go on and create their own cards online. It was just cutting it so close, and we were having such a hard time with that. And I said, well, if we can't do that, I mean, that's a huge part of the business plan. If we can't have that option for the customers, then I'm just like everybody else,
Right.
pulled it off somehow. It was a very small collection, obviously. Much now we release thousands of cards in a holiday collection. Then I think, including gift tags, I think maybe we did some invitations. I think it was 300 pieces.
The growth is incredible. And I have some questions about your collections, but I think before I can talk about collections, maybe I have to talk about your artists
Yeah,
because I was kind of thinking to myself, as someone who has been a longtime follower of the brand and has seen, different product announcements and has seen online your artists and that sort of thing, how do you work with various artists while sticking to, like, do you have a certain ethos or vision that all of your artists are supposed to pull from? And then how does that shift when you are working on a collection that has its own kind of vision, but has to fit under the main overarching brand? And then I know you do collaborations, which that's like a whole separate conversation. So I'm really interested in just kind of the creative process behind maintaining your brand
right.
while having kind of these offshoot. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And I think it's really important because we try to stay within the framework of what our brand feels like. And our brand has a look and feel. We've worked with more than 30 artists at this point. We don't continually work with each of the artists all the time. We have probably 15 to 17 artists we'll work with for a holiday collection. We will maybe, like you said, we'll have a collaboration and that's one artist that we're working with, and we feel like that their style of art might fit that collaboration best. What we have learned along the way, and I think that what makes Dogwood Hill unique is that even though we have so many different artists with their own unique styles, our products tend to have the same look and feel. You're basically buying a Dogwood Hill card. I hope that when you see the card, you know it's a Dogwood Hill card, but you're selecting the art style you like within it. And one of the places that is such a cool place to see is when we go to market and we have all of our cards on the wall. People will walk in and they'll say, "Oh, are you the artist?" Because it does kind of have an overarching look to it.
Cohesive. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very cohesive looking. And I'll say, no, we have a number of artists who we commission artwork from them, and then we have our own in-house product design team. So we learned along the way, and I will say very early on, when Holly and I were very first developing the company, we had 12 artists who we started with, and we asked them to create the cards themselves. And we gave them parameters within which to work. It was not sustainable because most artists, a lot of them are not trained in graphic design. They're amazing artists. They're two different skills. And so what we were learning is that sometimes it was really difficult for the artist to also do the graphic design work. And so we were having to come in and help them with that. The other thing is they were all using different programs. And it was very difficult for us to convert everything into the one program we needed, because then that was how we would make all of our files to then go into the customization tool for the customer to use. We have 8 to 10 people on our design team now. And then I'm heavily involved in design. Lucy Young is our creative director who heads up the design team now. And it is interesting. I mean, like we have a whole design manual now. So if you come onto the team, we actually like for you to come onto the team and process orders first, because those are already developed products. And then you're plugging in the information for the customer, or you're reviewing what the customer created in the customization tool. And so you're getting a really good feel for our product design before we move you into product design. And we're very specific about typesetting and how the art lays out. And I guess maybe it's interesting to know that for each collection that we are going to release, that starts months, if not a year in advance. And we think through which artists we want to be a part of that collection. And then we reach out to them, we get their ideas. Sometimes we say, hey, we would really love for you to do this. Are you interested in that? And we want the artist to be inspired. So we don't want to just shove ideas down on them. So for a holiday collection, we say, hey, give us X number of ideas. And then we go through their ideas. We pick what we feel like would be great for the next collection. We're looking at what the other artists have submitted. We don't want there to be too much overlap in ideas. And then we get the raw art, and we take the art and we create all the products and the patterns, and all of that gets done in-house by our design team.
I guess it's a collection, right? Your fabric and wallpaper, like that's
Yeah.
technically its own collection.
Uh-huh.
Did you want to talk about that a little bit? Because I know that's new and has also been its own long process and time in
Yes.
the making.
Yeah, I would love to talk about that. It's been something I've wanted to do for a while, but I knew it would be quite the undertaking. So you also have to make time for that, which we
Yeah.
don't have much time in our creative calendar, which is why it's taken so long. We've had to do it along the way as we could. I feel like because I am so logistically minded in a lot of ways, a product category, if we're going to move into that space, it has to make logistical sense for what we already do. I wanted this amazing art that we have to be able to have an extended life beyond just the paper goods that we have. We do have some cards that have been on our website for years and years, but the majority of our cards, after they've lived on the site for 2 or 3 years, we start turning those over. It's new stuff. We have so much that people can look through. We don't want them to get super overwhelmed. So we remove cards along the way to add new. Some of the art that we developed 6, 7, 8 years ago is no longer on the website. It's beautiful art. It should be enjoyed and used and seen. And so in my head, we needed another life for this art. And so, of course, wallpaper is still paper. So that made sense to me. And then also, we've been asked along the way for events that people are using our paper goods for. Oh, I would love to be able to make tablecloths out of this pattern so that everything feels super cohesive for the party. And so in my head, well, that makes sense too, logistical sense. You're extending the life of the art, but you're also giving people ways to use the art that also coincides with the paper goods. And then I sort of virtually went around the world looking at manufacturers and different, uh, you know, grounds for materials, and it had to be the right paper, it had to be the right fabric, all of those things. And I wanted all of that to mimic what we had already created on the paper goods side. So the fabric is 100% cotton. It has just a small, like a little tooth in it. It's not like linen. I wanted the art to be represented really well and how it was printed. And then the paper color is the same as the fabric color. Same with the paper color for the wallpaper is fabric by the yard, wallpaper by the yard. That way they can create what they want to. We could move into other products along the way, but let's just get started with this. Manufacturing was hard because I was starting this during the pandemic. Ultimately, I thought, okay, all of our paper goods are made in the US. So we did not have any problems with that during the pandemic. And so I thought, well, that's important. Let's keep everything stateside for this new category as well. So then landing on the manufacturer that was going to treat the art like I wanted it to be treated and represent it well and have the high standards that we have. That took a minute to land on, and we actually had landed on a different manufacturer, then we had to change. It was a long time in the making. I'm super happy with what we have now. Our collection right now is representative mostly of our of some earlier art and patterns.
I was kind of thinking, as you're talking, you have this art background, plus, of course, the analytical side. But I'm wondering if you feel that those have served you in this role because you kind of were already in a position where you were interacting with artists and you had a curatorial eye. Do you find that you're drawing on that?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I am getting to use everything I've learned. Doing this company allows for me to bring all of my skill sets, maybe gifts, the things I've learned along the way. I get to use all of that stuff in one spot. So I still love the business side of this business. And then also getting to use that creative side of my brain that apparently has been there all along. That's really fun. I mean, that's my favorite part of the job. I love the business side. I'm so thankful I get to do that. But my favorite part is product development, working with the artist, getting the art from them, creating new products. It's the joy of my job. And working with people. I mean, we have such a fabulous team.
Now, speaking of a lot of people, I think you said you're up to or somewhere around 30 artists.
Yes, but we don't work with all of those artists all the time.
When do new artists come into play? How are you deciding who those artists are?
Yeah, and that's a tricky balance. I would say there's 10 to 12 artists who are going to be a part of every holiday collection as long as they have the time for it. Now, that ebbs and flows too, because sometimes our artists who we would invite to be a part of the holiday collection every year, they may have something big going on that particular
Hmm.
season and they can't contribute art. It's a hard balance because I feel like we have a good range of artistic styles right now. And so, what I have to be mindful of is if I'm considering a new artist, I would not want that artist to come in and their style would compete with someone we already have. You have to be mindful from the business side of it to not dilute the commission pool too much. I want the artist to, I want their commission that they make off of these sales to be as much as possible.
Stationery. It's almost seen as a pastime, but it's also a tradition. We're in this digital age, but at the same time, I think there is a nostalgia and there is something that is very intimate and personal about something like a holiday card, a note, or a thank you to somebody.
I think that there is a space for the physical paper items, and then there's also a space for the digital items too. Speaking of digital items, we have a collaboration with Paperless Post. So if you do want a Dogwood Hill card, but you don't want the physical card, go shop our Paperless Post items because they're
Perfect.
beautiful. I absolutely, I mean, my favorite time of the year is holiday card season. It's not even Christmas season, it's holiday card season because I love getting all of these holiday cards in my mailbox. And I have told everyone, I don't care if you order a Dogwood Hill card. Please send me your holiday card. I just want them in the mail. I started a company because I love holiday cards. So please send me your cards. I think there's something special about it. I mean, I have every single one of my holiday cards since we've been married. I have made some of them into ornaments. I put some of them in frames. I have them all in a little tray during the holiday season so you can go back and look at them. It's a commemorative thing to me and it's a keepsake thing to me. I think we're just inundated with so many digital things, whether it's email or social media or text messages or photos. I mean, we just got back from a trip and I took what feels like thousands of photos. If you have that piece of paper that commemorates your family or, your dog, we have the cutest holiday cards that people do with their dogs on them.
I love that.
Yes, it's so fun. I mean, one of our designers is single and she does a photo of her and her dog on her holiday card every year, and it is amazing. I love it. I just think that that's such a great keepsake to have. You don't have to spend a lot of money. You can order 20 of them. You can order 15 of them and send them to your favorite people. That to me is just something special. I think people love getting those items in the mail from you. For thank you notes, I don't know if you guys noticed on Southern Living's Instagram lately, but they were talking about let's not feel like we have to send a thank you note for everything. And I think that that is true at times. If I am taking a meal to a new mother, I am going to say, please do not write me a thank you note. I don't need that. You are so busy. Please don't do it. But if I have sent a wedding gift in the mail and I don't know if you got it or not, it's nice just to send that note. And I realize that writing thank you notes for weddings, that can be overwhelming, but you can get through it. If somebody hosted you for dinner at their house and you know that they spent a lot of time planning that meal out and they cleaned their house and they did all these things and they invited you over, it doesn't have to be a long note. It's a quick little note. You can put it in the, I mean, these are just thoughtful things. I do worry sometimes that, etiquette has changed so much over the years, and that makes sense. It should change over the years. Society changes, etiquette should change too, but there should still be etiquette. We should still be
We
mindful.
shouldn't do away with
That's right.
it.
And we should still be mindful of being thoughtful because at the end of the day, etiquette is being thoughtful. I think if you just have a set of note cards at the ready, it may take you 2 years to get through 10 cards because you can send the quick text for certain things. You need to have it on hand so that you're not stuck writing on like a 3 by 5 card or something,
Hmm.
don't have something nice to write on. Get a notepad. We have A2 and A7 notepads, and you can just slide those into an envelope if you need to. And then you can use the notepad for other purposes, but the notepad is really pretty. I don't know. I just think that it's important to continue some of these things that feel like age-old traditions, but they should never go out of style, in my opinion.
No, I agree. I think there is, like you said, thoughtfulness behind it, but I also think that it, especially with something like, and I mean, don't get me going, former wedding planner, if you're not sending a thank you, I have a problem with that.
Yeah,
I think it just shows not only acknowledgement. I don't think anyone who has ever given a gift should have to question if it's been received. So
right.
I think at the bare minimum, it provides an acknowledgement, but it also is just an act of appreciation.
I completely agree. I'm from a small town, so I had a ton of wedding thank you notes to write. And I was just trying my best to get through them. And then my mom sometimes would say, oh, well, so and so asked if you got the gift. I guess you haven't gotten that note out yet. I hate that. I hate she said something. I'm trying to get through them all. But I think that it's a reflection of you too. Like you want that reflection of yourself to be, you don't want to run into somebody and in your mind, oh my goodness, I never wrote them a thank you note. I feel terrible.
I think it comes down to and maybe it's the person. I align with that, right? I would not want to be out and about and run into somebody and it hit me like a ton of bricks that, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I don't want to see somebody and be reminded by my lack of thoughtfulness or
That's a
or
great way
my
of saying it.
forgetfulness.
Like it is a reflection on you if that person feels like that you lacked thoughtfulness in what they did for you.
Yes.
And I
And I
guess,
think you're a thoughtful person, you would jump to that, right?
mhm,
As a person who wants to be thoughtful and
yeah.
extend appreciation, like you would have that instinctual, oh no. And maybe that's not universal.
I feel like if someone's listening to your podcast, they're probably that type of
But I
person.
think it is a very like-minded audience. Yes. I don't think anyone listening will disagree. I think we've
Yeah.
all been there. You mentioned having note cards at the ready. We've all been in a situation where we don't. Then you're creating more work for yourself because those of us, again, who want to be thoughtful and appreciate it, we're running to the store to grab a card
Yeah.
or adding it to that week's grocery list or, anything like that. So to have something at the ready makes sense. And it
Yeah.
also makes your life easier.
Obviously, I have greeting cards at the ready because I make greeting cards. So I go into my stash and we're able to quickly come up with something. So I think it's always great to have your personalized stationery to write a thank you note on, some greeting cards available, your holiday card. I mean, I'm sorry, like a happy birthday card, a sympathy card, a thinking of you
Mhm.
card, that kind of thing on the ready. It's kind of like your gift closet that you stock to have something quickly. So have your stationery drawer stocked.
Now, you touched on etiquette, but also aligning with tradition. You're a mom. How are you instilling that in your kids?
I have to mention that the best note writer I have ever known in my life is my husband. He is phenomenal at note writing. His sister is the same way. I don't know what their mom did to make them the note writers, but they are. So I need to ask her because I need to make my boys this way. I keep their stationery on the ready, and this is just, I think because we're so busy all the time that when the boys get invited to a birthday party, my gift that I come up with is I give them cash and I put it in the envelope with their personalized stationery and they write a note to their friend. Their stationery gets used the most like that. Growing up, I didn't write a ton of thank you notes. My first memory of writing a ton of thank you notes was for graduation. It was embossed stationery, and I still have some of that because we ordered so much of it. That was sort of my first foray into writing a lot of thank you notes. I think that at some point in their lives growing up, they are going to have to sit down and write thank you notes. You don't necessarily have to make them sit down at age 8 and write a bunch of thank you notes. They are going to do it at some point. I think that at the right time, that is when you make them focus on it. So
Well,
I think
and
that sometimes we're hard on the kids. We're like, you have to write a thank you note for everything. And then they're like, oh, I don't even want a birthday party because I have to then write, 25 thank you notes. Mom's making me do that for the next 3 afternoons. And I think that that's a great practice if you can make your kid do it. I could get through like 5 of them with my children, and then we're just all giving up. I think that the older they get, that's when you can really make an impact on them. And hopefully they're old enough at that point for you to really explain why this is important.
well, it's funny. That just made me think about my sister-in-law had I think he just turned 10. He just had a birthday in April, and she had him write thank you notes.
Mhm.
And you could tell that it was a mandated task
They don't want to do
because
it.
it was, I mean, he wrote teeny tiny top corner of the card.
So
And
funny.
but I have it saved now because I opened it, and as the recipient and his aunt who loves him, I was hysterical when I opened it and I read it, and you could just tell he hated every second of it. That to me is a keepsake.
Well, and it
But
was a keepsake for you. And I love those notes
yes,
from the
yes,
mail. They're so sweet. And my boys have an aunt who adores them. And we always, in the past, we've sent her notes because we know how much she loves that.
yep,
So I think that if you have to compromise, like maybe send it to the people who you know would love it.
yes.
And that gives them a taste of it. But then I guess in my head, I don't want them to hate it either. So I want them to not feel like it's a chore.
Hmm.
So I think I've held out a little bit on
Yeah,
that.
it went out to family. We had a separate family party. I have no idea how the friend party was handled. We brought it up to him later, and he was like, "Oh yeah, you got it." And so it was just, it
Well,
was
that's
cute.
important too, to let him know that you got it. And so,
Yeah,
oh, I loved it. That's important. Like that could also be meaningful to them to realize it wasn't just this thing mom made me do. My aunt really did love that. I'll remember
yeah.
that next time.
Well, and it's so sweet too when they're, I mean, 10, he's a little bit older, but when they're younger like that, and it's just, again, as someone who's very sentimental, and it's like, oh my goodness, you're writing. So, to see how they spell things, and it's just, it is sentimental, and it's a keepsake. But I do love the idea of slowly integrating it as both etiquette and tradition. And I think it also shows them how to show appreciation. You're obviously a very clear example of of what it looks like.
Example, my husband is certainly the example. They see him, so he runs our wholesale side of the business. He has the relationships with all of our shops across the country, and he writes notes to our clients. I mean, he does that on a weekly basis,
Oh.
notes. And so if they don't see me do it, the boys see him do it. So
Yeah. Well,
hopefully
see,
that'll
that's
make
just as important. That's great. Before we part ways, we need to talk about some exciting news because obviously we have a shared friend in the industry, which is the Williamsburg brand of Colonial Williamsburg. So I would love to hear a little bit more about this exciting collaboration that you guys are working on.
Yes, I'm so excited. It sort of came together right around Christmas time last year. And we are releasing a holiday card collection with Williamsburg this year. It will come out September 18th. We will have 10 collections of holiday cards that we are using art pulled from their textiles and their wallpaper. It has been such a fun collaboration. Lucy and I got to go to Williamsburg back in February and go into their archives and pick art that we would use for this collection. we have three wrapping papers coming along with that too. And yeah, I'm really excited because I've already told you I'm such a history nerd. And I grew up in a colonial Williamsburg house that my parents built when I was 4 years old. And it was based on the Raleigh Tavern in Williamsburg. And my mom always decorated for Christmas with sort of those colonial elements. We always had a pineapple in the middle of our dining room table with a lot of citrus and always the beautiful holiday sprays on the front door. So the greenery spray. So it's exciting. It kind of feels like full circle in my life
I was
somehow.
about to say when you told me earlier and you were like, oh, I had a colonial Williamsburg house. I was like, this could not be more perfect for you.
Yeah, it really is. It's so exciting. Of course, my mom is just floored by it all. She can't believe that we're getting to do this, and she's a little bit jealous because I keep going to Williamsburg to work on all of
Oh,
this. So, yeah, it's really fun. But most importantly, it is beautiful. The pieces are gorgeous. I think people are going to really love shopping these holiday cards. And I think one of the things that Dogwood Hill, I think we do so well is that we tried to make a comprehensive holiday card collection, which the Williamsburg collection will be a part of our larger holiday card collection that we'll release September 18th. We try to keep everybody in mind. So, where our cards are sort of plug your photo and your name in, we're hoping to give you so many different options and styles and art and color that you're going to our website and you're finding something you love. So, like, even within the holiday card collection for Williamsburg, we have maybe three different collections where we were like, oh my goodness, we love this colorway, but this would also be so beautiful in this colorway. So, you'll get a couple of different options on colors. So, anyway, I'm really excited.
it's very exciting, and I'm super excited to have the opportunity to chat. Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you. I loved it.